Hello, in this video we're going to learn the 9 reasons why life uses amino acids. My name is Eduardo Hernandez and welcome to my channel. I explain my theory, emergent chemical evolution, but in this video we're going to learn why life uses amino acids over any other class of chemical. Please stick around for number 9, which is highly counterintuitive, and I think you'll get a kick out of the drawing I did to represent that step. That reason. Okay, let's start. Reason number 1. Amino acids are found everywhere and work everywhere. Amino acids rain down from the sky in meteorites. That tells us that in the vacuum of space, where chemicals can react any which way they want, they most commonly form organically amino acids. So amino acids being so universally found and capable of working in any environment, not any specific type of conditions. They can work in the extreme cold of the polar caps or the extreme heat of the volcanic vents at the bottom of the ocean, which also includes extreme pressures. So that's one of the main reasons why amino acids are highly prized and used by life. Reason number 2, there are over 70 different varieties of amino acids, at least that are found in meteorites. Life only makes 20. Life only needs and requires 20, but amino acids come in 70 different flavors, meaning that if life needs to use any particular type of element, it can find that element in one of the varieties of amino acids and easily incorporate that into itself. Reason number 3, amino acids keep their chemical integrity. Now, life uses amino acids in proteins, and proteins we know are just globs. They form multiple structures, and they wrap themselves around the chemical products that they modify. Usually with other chemicals, those chemicals will interact with any other chemicals that come into contact with them. But the amazing thing about amino acids is that once you apply a different pH to that string of protein, it can disunravel and keep itself in the same sequence of amino acids as it was prior to being wrapped up. That's very, very efficient, very, very unique among all the other chemicals, because like crystals, they talk so much about crystals being like life, but crystals, they bond with each other, and whenever they're close to each other, they form an unbreakable bond, and that makes them hard, but it makes them extremely fragile and not very useful for life, because once they form that matrix, it's very hard to break them out of that matrix. But in amino acids, you don't have that problem. They can wrap up into any shape, react with their components, and when you apply a different pH, they unravel and they maintain their shape and their chemical composition. That is extremely, extremely useful for life. Number 4, amino acids also spontaneously form sulfur bonds and hydrogen bonds. These bonds help the proteins, once they take their natural form, be more rigid and maintain their shape so they can keep their reactive centers. But these bonds form spontaneously in certain spots. In one test they did, they had a protein that broke down peptide bonds, meaning that protein takes other proteins and breaks them down to their amino acids. So they break the amino acid bond. What they did is they applied a large pH, a very acidic pH, and broke the bonds and caused the bonds to form somewhere else in the protein, making it unable to do its original job. And you think, wow, man, How do you undo that? Well, what they did is they applied again even a higher pH, a pH that caused it to totally break all the bonds. And once they removed and uh, put the pH to the original pH of when that protein forms, those bonds regenerated spontaneously without no need of any other protein coming and fixing the bonds or any of that. It naturally reformed those bonds once you put the original pH after it being totally, all the bonds being broken and then allowed to form naturally. Again, that is something that you don't find with other chemical reactions and other chemical elements, compounds to form proteins. This is very, very useful. It maintains the integrity of the protein in no matter what condition life finds itself. Number 5, it's soluble in water. This is a water planet. Anywhere you find on this planet, at least on its surface, you'll find water. And if any chemical does not work well with water, it will not be very useful for life. So these origin of life researchers that claim that there had to be a cycle of dehydration and the early Earth for certain chemical reactions to occur so life could start, that to me seems not feasible on a water world back then, especially when there was no continents. So being that amino acids work well in water and do everything in water, that makes it, again, one of a more valuable substance to use for life than any other chemical compounds. Another thing that amino acids do that other compounds don't do, they spontaneously bond to each other. And unlike other compounds, amino acids, you will never find just one amino acid. When you get them from, let's say, a chemical supplier and they give you a bunch of amino acids, you're not going to find single amino acids individually. They'll be bonded to other amino acids in multiple strings, but you'll never find an isolated amino acids. And this is very useful both for life to make proteins, because you don't need other compounds to come in and force them to get together. You just need a specific condition to make the amino acids bond easily. And they do that depending on the which individual amino acids we're talking about, because each individual amino acid has a separate a pH that it readily bonds. Certain amino acids will bond easily in a 3 pH, others will bond more easily in a 6 pH. So it depends. But that the range of amino acids working is from 2 all the way to 9 pH. So you have a large range of these amino acids to be able to bond spontaneously to each other. Number 7, they form repeating structures. Amino acids, when you bond them together, once you start stringing them long enough, they'll spontaneously start to either make an alpha helix or a flat sheet called a pleated sheet. And in proteins, the structures that make the reactive centers of proteins are usually a combination of alpha helixes or beta sheets, and the space in between them forms the reactive center. And the reactive center is what we want, regardless of what the composition of the amino acids is, the series, the sequence. They all are capable of forming alpha helixes or pleated sheets. Now, the one thing that's always needs to stay the same is the area where the reactive center is. The reactive center needs specific amino acids to cause a reaction to occur for the protein, but the other ones are just for structure. So you can interchange any of those amino acids, and as long as the ones that form the reactive center are the same, that protein will do the same job, regardless of the sequence for the rest of the structure. Again, something you do not find with other compounds. Number 8, all biomolecules in life are made starting with amino acids. Life takes an amino acid and uses proteins, which are other amino acids, and changes that one amino acid to a precursor compound, change that amino acids in a way that it allows life to take that product that it makes, and then other proteins, again, other amino acids, come and take that product and again, change it to a more useful molecule for life. In most cases, RNA and DNA, ATP, which is another type of RNA. All the biomolecules made by life are always start with amino acids. Again, something you don't find with other compounds that life could possibly use. Number 9, and the one that I claim is very counterintuitive, but also makes amino acids very useful, is they are weakly bonded. It's very easy to separate amino acids from each other. Now, you would think this is not something that's very good. And that's why I put the sword in the stone. Only one person can take that sword out and be king of England. You know, but when that comes to compounds that life needs, you're not going to want a compound that only one specific protein out of the billions of proteins that could be made can take that compound away. You don't want something that's going to take more energy to remove from the environment than it's going to give you. And that's why all the food that every organism makes, life breaks them down to amino acids. It doesn't break them down any further to the elements. It doesn't. That would be counterproductive to life, because amino acids, again, is what those elements are going to form anyway. So why are you going to take the extra energy to break them further down from amino acids? So that's why when life digests food, it breaks it down no further than the amino acids. And that makes it easily breakable with different means for life to be able to assemble them and take them apart when it's not necessary. Say there's a mistake in a protein or some other compound. Ain't it easier for it to be weakly bonded so you can start all over again? Again, if you need to eat or you need to expand your organism, it's easier to have a compound that you can easily take and utilize somewhere else in the cell. So, you know, that's something that might seem counterintuitive and might seem like something that's not beneficial to life, but it actually is, that these compounds are weakly bonded. So those are the 9 reasons why amino acids make an excellent choice for life to use to do most of its, almost all of its chemical reactions. So, you know, I personally think that without amino acids, there could be no life. It is the one chemical class that utilizes a carbon element in the most beneficial way to life to make complex compounds and be able to sustain itself. Those are the 9 reasons. Thank you very much. Please check out my book where I show how life started using amino acids to for one to be able to start, sustain itself, and to replicate. So thank you very much. I'll see you in the next video. Damn, that was long.